we're flying home today. But before we do that, we're gonna get coffee.
It's not technically.
All right, we're just about packed. I have to pack this jacket in the suitcase because it's not gonna be as cold as it is here in Nashville. And then I just have to load that stuff in the car, and we should be good to go. Our flight's at 11, so I'm not worried that we're not gonna miss it. This thing's heavy. It's not as heavy as it was when we came. It's still heavy though. Doing a quick dummy check. Dummy check is when you do a quick once-over of the room to make sure that you weren't a dummy and you didn't leave anything. It's kind of self-explanatory. I think I'm good. Gas. There's no receipt. Alright, so this car was halfway empty.
Oh, nice.
It was $30.22 to fill this tank up. Halfway empty. $60 for a full tank. Returning the rental car now. So our flight leaves at 11:30. We have like an hour and a half or something like that. We have plenty of time. I'm not worried about missing our flight or anything like that. Basically, anytime we're flying, if we've been to the airport before, then we don't really, we get there just in enough time, but for airports we've never been to, we get here early. So, Savannah got some candles from her friends. It was like 10 pounds of candles, rearranging things so the bag's not overweight.
Your bag out. A pair of shoes in here? Wait before? Yeah.
You see that thing? I don't know if it's allowed to use that.
The bag just in case.
Anyone? Okay, now that that's over with.
Good, have a great day, thank you.
Thank you, bye-bye. Bumpy flight. Also during that flight, 10 minutes before we were taking off, somebody crapped their pants. It was a good flight, besides all of that. That's new.
At a moment's notice. And what of dear Gretel? The wood, then the fire, stir the kettle, fetch a bowl.
recently we've been checking all of our bags. Like, we haven't been taking anything on besides our backpacks. For the longest time, I used to be very against that just because I wanted to know where my bag was and I didn't want to like lose it. For like the past year, we've been checking it, and that's what I prefer now. Like, nothing happened to make me change, just changed my mind. So today I wanted to tell you about my experience when I was auditioning for Elevation. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, I played at Elevation Church for a couple of different campuses. How the church works is you're on the team, and then you have a campus that's like your home campus, but then you're also bounced around to different campuses basically based on need. At least that was my experience when I was playing for Elevation. And before I get into my audition process and how that looked, they may have changed it from then. This was just my experience from the time that I was playing there, which was a few years back. So they could have changed it now, and I don't know. So I can't say that this is how they do it now, but this is how they did it when I auditioned. So for me, I had a mutual friend that already played at the church, and he got me in contact with the worship leader, and that's when she told me when the round of auditions were coming up. They do them typically at the same time every single year. Sometimes they'll do it twice a year, depending on if the church or that campus needs like musicians, then they'll hold two. But typically it's the same time once a year, every year. They'll have a list of songs that you have to play specific to the instrument that you're auditioning for. So the guitar audition requirements are going to be different than the bass, and same with the drums. For me, I had to submit 2 different videos of me playing 2 different songs, and I'll actually put a link to those videos down below. For the songs, I had to record them, and I had to video me playing them. I personally just used 2 microphones, one for the overheads and then one for the kick drum. But you can use your iPhone. There's not a requirement on how good the quality has to be. They just have to be able to hear the song and the you playing the parts. After that, I was instructed to label the song and put my name and information within the title of the song and put it unlisted on YouTube, and then send an email to their auditions email and put the links to those YouTube videos in that email. Once that happens, they'll review your audition, and if they want to see more, if they like what they see, then they'll have you come in for a callback. Now, this callback is going to be an in-person live audition where you're playing with that campus band, to which for me, I had to learn 2 different songs, not the same songs that I played previously, but 2 completely new songs. But this time I'm going to play them with that campus band live. That's basically to demonstrate your feel in a live band kind of context, because that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be playing live on Sundays. That's what you're auditioning for. Now, this next part's going to be dependent on your campus, but for me, my campus was a mobile campus, meaning that they have to set everything up Sunday or sometimes Saturday night. And because of that, I had to come in for my audition Saturday night after they were all set up and they finished the rehearsal for Sunday. Once they finished the rehearsal, then they had all of us show up and kind of sit in the auditorium, and they called us up by name. I also forgot to mention it was a requirement to have the songs memorized. You couldn't write charts and you couldn't use charts. You had to know them by memory because they don't use music stands or anything like that. So while I was sitting there in the auditorium terrified, going over my notes in my head, making sure that I remembered the songs, you're just sitting there waiting for them to call your name. Once they called my name, then I went up and I sat at the drums and plug my in-ears in. What they'll do is they'll do a quick little sound check. They'll probably have you play like a verse or a chorus of one of your audition pieces. Make sure your in-ears and your headphones are all set and the drums are positioned to your liking. I also forgot, I didn't bring snare or cymbals. The only thing was to bring your drumsticks, because again, they're already set up and there's going to be a different drummer playing, and you'll just play his stuff. Once I had everything situated and my ear mix was dialed in mostly, then you start your audition. And they may have you end up playing all the way through both songs, or they may cut you off. For my specific audition, I played both songs all the way through back to back. But for when I was on the team and I would play for different other people auditioning, sometimes we would just play a verse and a chorus, and that was it. It just purely depends on if they get a good feel right off the bat, or if they just have the time to go through the entire audition. For me, since it was after rehearsal and there was nothing going on afterwards, I had the time to do the entire audition. While they're doing the audition, they'll either FaceTime or record your audition, your live audition, and then they'll send it down to, it's called Central, which is basically Elevation's hub where all the staff are, and that's where they'll review and watch your live audition and ultimately determine if you make the team or not. So once I finished my audition, they said thanks, exchanged pleasantries, and then I was on my way. They told me that I would get an answer within 1 to 2 weeks of my audition via email. I think I got my email reply within a week. So once I got that email, I was notified that I was on the team, and then they gave me next steps, which doesn't mean that I'm going to start playing immediately. That means I'm going to start a shadowing period, getting me ready to play. Typically, the shadowing periods varied. Mine was only like 2 weeks because they needed drummers right then and there. Normally a shadowing period is like 1 to 2 different Sundays, depending on the instrument. Drums is typically a little longer because there's more depending on you and more riding on you as the drummer. So included in my acceptance email, I was given a couple of links to videos, and basically it was videos just going over different MD calls, like especially for hits or if they're gonna cut songs and stuff like that. Basically cues that you need to learn and memorize in your head so that they can just, at the drop of a hat, say "in now" or whatever the calls are for the church. Basically the calls are just really efficient, short ways to communicate what we're doing in the moment, like quickly. And then after that, I had my shadow dates, and I think I ended up only doing 1 shadow date purely because, again, they needed people. And then the next following week, I was playing at a campus. That's pretty much how my experience was auditioning for Elevation. I will say through the entire process, they were super nice, supportive. Even before I made the team or anything like that, they were all just great, just genuinely happy to see you. You got the feeling of it was professional, but it was also compassionate. But yeah, that's basically what my audition process was. Like I said, they could have changed it, and they probably have changed it. That was my experience a couple years ago. And again, the links for those 2 first audition videos that I did will be down below. I made them public since then, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. Also, I'm rendering a video right now, and I just figured I would talk to you one-on-one. Savannah's taking pictures, and I'm like always, I'm just tagging along. If you are thinking about auditioning for Elevation, then I have a couple of things that I would recommend that I did that worked for me. They're not hard, they're just a couple of things to like sharpen up and work on. So the first thing that I would focus on, and it's really helped me, when you're kicking your snare hit, make sure they hit perfectly. Like make sure that those are dialed in, like they hit at the exact same time, because if you do that, it'll make it sound a lot more it'll make us feel a lot more stable. I had to come back and get my warm North Face jacket. It's just too cold out there. I was freezing in this. And the next thing would be really get comfortable with a click. Like I'm not talking about being like able to play to a click. I mean like do exercises where the click comes in and then randomly cuts out to really improve your timing. Because that's something, again, it'll make you feel more solid, and ultimately that's what they're looking for, and pretty much anybody that's looking for a drummer is really looking for, because it's kind of our job. If you need more recommendations for exercises with click tracks, let me know and I'll set you up. It's not hard. It just, again, these are things that helped me. Is it a tip? I guess it's a tip. The next tip is going to be really simplify things. Don't overplay and don't play things that don't feel solid. It's 100 times better to play something simple and solid than to play something cool and complex and it's kind of meh. It'll make you feel more stable as a drummer, and it'll make you feel just better to play with. If you haven't noticed yet, there's a theme going on of being a solid drummer. That's literally what it is. That's like the main thing that they're looking for, is just solidness. Savannah went up to the top at think. I kind of lost them when I was talking to the camera, so I hope they're up there. There she is. Savannah's little photo shoot is going on just right over there. So again, this is gonna be like specific to when I was playing there. Their music now doesn't really require this as much, but it still requires it. Learn how to play open-handed and learn how to play most of your grooves, if not all of your grooves, like normal, where your hands are crossed, and also learn how to do it open-handed. And the reason for that is a lot of their stuff, you're playing basically two drummers' parts, meaning that a lot of times you have like the hi-hats doing something consistent or the rims doing something consistent, and then you also have the toms doing something completely different, and in an effort to avoid doing this whole thing, open-handed just lets you, it's so much easier. It's a bit of an undertaking at first, but it gets easier as you go on. Also, for the record, it feels like it's negative like 25 degrees outside right now. Like my mouth is cold and it's hard to like talk, it's that cold. It's not really 25, I'm just a baby and I'm from California, but it's cold.